What is being debated right now in Topeka, and what could that impact be on your property taxes? Dave Trabert is here with the Kansas Policy Institute on KCMO Talk Radio. It's really a major issue on both sides of our state line, but we'll focus right now on the Kansas side. Dave, good morning. What is being debated in Topeka, and why do you think it is a good or bad idea?
Well, there's several ideas, Pete. Good morning. The Senate just concluded testimony on a bill that would limit property tax increases to 3% plus new construction, and you can only exceed that limit with a public vote. We'd like to see it, or I'm sorry, I said 3%. It's inflation plus new construction. We'd like to see it just at like 3%, no new construction. But still, as it's proposed, that would be a big win for taxpayers.
What does that mean? What does that mean? New construction.
So the new property that comes onto the tax rolls each year, in a lot of cases, it averages about 1%. So look at it this way: if property taxes went up 7%. 1% of that, 6% was on existing property, 1% was new property that's being taxed, new homes that are being built or new businesses that came online. So it's this would really give people, it would put taxpayers back in control with a cap. You can only go up to the cap without voter approval. The other bill that passed the House, surprisingly, with overwhelming support, is House Bill 2396. That one kind of grants local government what they've all been lobbying for several years. It gets rid of revenue neutral, and it gives a subsidy payment to counties and cities that only raise taxes like between 4 and 5%. Why? I mean, that's going to lead to tax increases for a lot of people, because there's like more than half the local taxing authorities in Kansas have been holding to revenue neutral. They've not been raising taxes. That's certainly not the case here on the east coast of Kansas, but in a lot of parts of the state, there have not been tax increases. So when you say, okay, you can go up to somewhere between 4 and 5%, and get a bonus payment from the state, that's what they're going to do. And it's not going to impact the bad players, like Overland Park, for example, that goes up 9-10% a year. They're not going to all of a sudden say, okay, we'll only go to 5%, because they would lose money, and they just won't do it. But like Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, did not increase property tax this year. That's enormous. That is only because of revenue neutral, and for some reason the House wants to get rid of it.
I don't understand that. I mean, I say that I don't get why you would want to remove a policy that appears to be working, to your point, in terms of keeping these property taxes in check. Now, when you say revenue neutral, what exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, so let's say Wyandotte County this year is bringing in, I'll just make up a number, $50 million in property tax. If they want to take in more than $50 million next year, they have to notify taxpayers in writing of their intent. We're going to raise your tax from this to that. That's our intent. Then they have to hold a public hearing where people can come out and protest. And then they have to go on record voting for whatever decision they make. There's no restriction, but they have to own it. And that's why it was called the Truth in Taxation Act when it was introduced, because it was about making local officials be honest. They couldn't get away with saying, well, we're really holding the line while they're making all of us write bigger checks.
Is that for cities too, or just counties?
That's cities too.
Okay, but how? I mean, is this happening in Johnson County then? Because we've covered how much obviously they're taking in, and maybe I missed it. I'm readily admitting I may have missed it. But are they holding all these public hearings and all these events and notifying people like this? Yeah,
they are. It's state law. They've been doing it since 2021. it honestly isn't having much of an impact in places like Johnson County or Leavenworth County. I mean, I've been to the hearings where elderly people come in tears begging city council and Mayor Skoog, please don't increase my taxes. I can't afford my house. Some people saying they have to choose between medicine and food and property tax. They just do it anyway. They each year they'll go up 9-10%, and so in some places it's not working, but they do have to hold the hearing, and they're on record. So no matter what they say, you can pull up the vote and say, no, I'm sorry, Mayor, you voted for this much of a tax increase. It's having a big impact. I mean, Wyandotte County not raising property tax, that was astounding. That's the pressure of revenue neutral. In Miami County, Representative Potter Parshall reports that they've actually flipped school boards and other boards because of revenue neutral. The pressure from once the word got out, there was a documented record that they were changing how much they were raising taxes. That changed the elected officials, and now they're seeing a lot of benefit. They're truly holding the line. So
why
it really is working, but.
Why is this such a bad? Well, no, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is why this House Bill 2396 that you're referring to there, that would reward cities if the tax increase does not exceed inflation plus taxes from new construction. If they're jacking it up 10% every year anyway in some parts of Johnson County, then getting it down to 5. I mean, I know we want it to be 0, 1, or 2, but isn't that a decent outcome? I mean, isn't that something that we should be happy about?
If it happened, yes, but you have to look at. I mean, it's a simple math issue. If I'll use Leavenworth County for example, in the last couple of years, they have increased property tax between sometimes over $4 million. Their share, their reward would be $1.3 million. So they're looking at it and say, well, if I go from 11% to 4 or 5%, I'm going to lose $3 million on net. I'm not going to do that. You're only going. The incentive is going to work. It's going to reward people who actually increase taxes. Those who didn't increase tax now are going to be encouraged to, because revenue neutral's gone. All the transparency is gone. The public notice is gone. The hearings are gone. I'll guarantee you what they'll be saying is, we stayed under the cap.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And they still, and a lot of them are going to be imposing increases that they didn't or wouldn't have otherwise.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that angle as well. The whole thing's a mess. So, I mean, that's the reality. It's like I think the state has the right idea, because these municipalities are completely out of control with gobbling up more property taxes every single year. But it seems like conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, nobody knows the right way to cut through it and do the best thing for the taxpayer, unless there's some idea, Dave, that you've got from some other state that you think is the catch-all here.
Well, I think a modified version of Senate Bill 280 would do it.
Which is what?
Which is you put a fixed cap of, we propose 3%. So if I collected $50 million this year, I can only collect $50 million plus 3% next year, unless the voters say, okay, you want to collect $52 million, you want to collect $55 million, you have to get voter approval. Now people can decide if there's really a need for it, then sure, we'll vote for it. But come to us. Don't just tell us we're going to do it. We did a public opinion poll on this, Pete. 87% of Kansans say, yes, I want a 3% cap without voter approval. 87%.
Wow.
The public understands what the solution is. Empower taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Dave, you keep on them up there, man. We'll be talking to you throughout the session because I know this issue is probably top of mind for people right now when it comes to these property tax concerns because they are just they're out of control. I don't know how else to put it. They're totally out of control.
Yeah, they are heading there again today.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dave. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. There you go. 913-408-7957.